Hi, welcome to Learning Monkey. I am Raghuveer. In this class we will discuss about function within the function, means we call it as nested functions and non-local variables. In our previous classes we discussed about the basics of functions and how memory is allocated to functions, what are global variables, local variables. So we use the concepts which we already discussed in our previous classes. So please follow our playlist from the beginning so that you will have a better understanding of the complete Python language. The link for the playlist is provided in the description below. Coming to today's class, we will take some examples and understand what's nested functions and what are non-local variables. Before going into the concepts of nested functions, first we will refresh the concepts of local and global variables. With that we will continue what's non-local variables and nested functions are. Let's take an example and understand. This is the example which we already discussed in our previous classes. A is equal to 1. This is a global variable. So we discussed that where the global variables will be saved, how the references are maintained. So global space, stack space, heap space. So based on the assumption you already know what those concepts are. So A is equal to 1. This is a global variable. So this variable is given memory space in the global space. Next we defined a function def of. In that we are assigning A is equal to 2. So what happens here is when we call this function A is equal to 2 means this is a local variable. So only this function can use this variable. So local variable space separately it will be assigned for the function. So local variable A is equal to 2. Print local variable. So print local variable, print A plus 1. A, it will take A value from this local value. If it is not found in local space, then it will go for global space. So we discussed this. So A is equal to 2. 2 plus 1. So the output it will display is 3 value. Next, coming to here, our coding executes this line A is equal to 1, then it will call this function. Whenever it call this function, it will execute A is equal to 2, means local variable, it will display local variable, the value is 3. Next, print global variable, print A. So this A is, we get this variable A from the global space because this is from the global area. So it will take the value from the global space. This is how functions are executed and how memory is allocated, what are local variables, what are global variables. This is what we discussed in our previous classes. So the output is local variables 3, global variable 1. Now coming to the next example. So let's take another example. A is equal to 1, def, we are defining a function. So what's the need of this global A? In the function, if you want to assign a new value to the global variable, then we have to define it as global. Then it will consider it as a global variable. It will assign that new value to the global space. See here, A is equal to 5. It's defined as global, so it will consider it as global variable, means this 5 is assigned to this global variable. The space that is assigned for the global space, that space will be updated with the value 5. So A is equal to 5. If you don't mention this as global A, it will take it as a local variable. This is very important point we have to understand. So global, what's the keyword global is used for? We are using it for showing the function as you consider it as global variable. That is the use of global. Now print a local variable, print A. It will display A is equal to 5. It is not local variable now. It is updating the global space. So we have to change this as this is also a global variable. So see here, local variable value 5 and the global variable value 5, because this is not local variable. So we have to write it as a not local variable. A is equal to 5. It is updating the global space. So by mistake here we did not mention the not local variable. Not is not mentioned here. So you please make a correct about it. Next, coming to the nested functions. Function that is defined inside a function, we call it as nested functions. So here we have to understand what are local variables, what is non-local variable. We will understand by taking an example. A is equal to 1. This is a global variable, means the scope of that variable, we can use this variable anywhere in this Python script. So A is equal to 1 can be used anywhere, means we can use this A in F Inside the f we defined another function f1. We can use this variable inside the f1 also. That is the scope of global variables. So def f is a function we defined. In that we defined that b, c are two local variables. B is a local variable, C is a local variable. The scope of this B and C variables are the body of this function. Inside the body of this function we can use the variables B and C. Inside the body of the function f we are having f1 also. So we can use B and C inside the f1 also. That is the scope of these variables B and C. Now in the definition of f1 we define d is equal to 40, means this is a local variable to function f1. D can be used only with f1. We cannot use outside of f1, means if you want to display d here, if you write d here outside the f1, coming out of f1, it won't be executed because this is a local variable to f1. So now coming to next, print global value inside nested function. What is the global value we defined? A value. It will display it as a value. Print val means what we are showing here is we can use that global variable inside the nested function. That is what we want to show here. So if it is displaying means we can access the global variable from the nested function. So print value from above function. Above function means this function has written in this function, so we can use these two variables also. B and C can be used. So value from above function B, print local value of nested function D value. So we are displaying A, B, D. Now coming to non-local. What is meant by non-local? If without this line non-local C, if you define it as C is equal to 20, what it will do, it will change that value, it will take it as a local value in f1. So it will consider it as a local value in f1. So if you want to change the value that is above this function, means if you want to change this value C is equal to 7, then you have to mention it as a non-local C. Whenever you mention it as non-local C, it won't create a new local variable. It will consider this C as the one which we got from the above function. This is the nested function, the one which we got from the above function. The same way which in the previous example we discussed with the global, the same way non-local can be used. Non-local means we use this variable in a nested functions. So C is equal to 20 means this value is updated. After calling this function, C value changes from 7 to 20. So that is what, this is the body of this function f1. After coming out of this function, we are writing it as print before calling f1 function, what is the C value. So here we are calling the f1. After calling non-local updated value means after calling the function is updating the C value. So what is that value after updating the C, after calling the function? That is what we are displaying here. Print B. If you try to display D here, D is local to f1. It is not allowed to display here because this part of code belongs to function f. It is not belong to function f1. So if this part of the code belongs to function f, in f we cannot use D. D is local to f1. So that is what we have to understand. So when we display the answer before calling f1 function 7, so function value C value is 7. See here, it's before calling f1 function C value is displayed. This is 7. Now it's calling the function, it will display the values. Global value inside nested function 1, value from above function, that is the B value is displayed 6, local value of nested function 40, D value. After calling the function, again we are displaying non-local update value. See, it is updated to C value is displayed here. It is updated after calling the function. It is 20 now. So these are the values which we are going to display. See here, after non-local update, C value is 20. Again we are displaying print B. After coming out of this, after calling the F function, we are writing it as print A. A is global value. What is the global value here? A is equal to 1. So the last one is 1 value. This is what about nested functions. Let's check this example. If you try to display D here, it has to give a message this variable is not yet defined. So let's check it with an example. See here, the same code we are displaying D here, print D. So what happens here? It will display a message. See here, at which line it is about to abort. So print D, this is the name D is not defined, that is local to F1. We cannot use it in a F function because F1 is a function inside the function F. Hope you understand the concepts. This is about nested functions and non-local variables. Hope you understand the concept. If you have any questions regarding the concept, please post your questions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel and press bell icon for the latest updates. Thank you.